So first of all, thank you very much for having us today. Thank you to Everything in Sport for having us back, because this is the third year we've been doing things in the conference, so it's very exciting. But I'm very briefly going to explain what this is about, what is going to happen. So actually, we're a talent agency. We represent sports and entertainment people. We are doing our best to do things in the best possible way to create a great culture where they benefit as much as possible at the start of their career, during their career, and after their career. But a few months ago, SportsAid, if any of you know SportsAid, asked us to develop this session on building your own brand. And we thought we were going to do it as a one-off. It was longer than this version. You guys are in luck. And then UK Sport, Team GB, Paralympics GB picked it up and said they wanted to put all of their Winter Olympians going to Milano Cortina next year through it, and then various other federations, and it's created this snowball. So today we have a short version. The bad news is the slides we aren't doing are the really good ones, but that's okay because you can always come back for more another time. I was going to start off with me and Jack trying to talk to you, but I'm utterly paranoid about the fact I can't read what's on the screens, and I don't know it off by heart.
They're down there.
Yeah, but I also can't keep looking at someone else's feet. Anyway, we'll come to that. And then you won't remember what we've done anyway, because you get to hear from Robyn Love, who I will give a proper introduction at the right time. But it's going to be really, really great.
So the first part of when we speak to these young athletes is what is your personal brand? What is a personal brand? And your brand is who you are. It brings your personal identity to life, and it is unique to you. And I think we do a lot of work on athletes trying to find their own personal brand, because for them, for all of us, brand, ROIs, KPIs, all this stuff, like we know what it means. But I think for these young athletes who have come through the sporting system, if they're saying, oh, what's your brand? They don't really know what we even mean by that a lot of the time. And we try and tell them that it's just your personality, fundamentally. That you are a different person when you're with your family, you're a different person when you go to the pub with your mates, you're a different person 3 hours later at the pub with your mates, but they're all different versions of you, and that's the same in the sporting world. We want the athletes, when they are doing an interview after a race or when they're doing a press appearance, that their family and friends would be like, oh yeah, that's Bobby, I recognise Bobby, because so often I think you see athletes almost unrecognisable from who you then know them as off the track, and what people want are relatable athletes when they see them on TV. But the challenge is, how do they find that, and why do they need it?
Well, I've got to warn you that part of my personal brand is that I'm very clumsy, and I'm currently looking at the fact that I'm trying to read there, look at you, and there's a chair right there, and I've got heels on. So I might enact my brand in a minute. But before that, why is it you need a brand? It's all very well and good that everyone says, well, you've got to have one, but none of us can really do anything, I don't think, properly unless we understand why. It's not just what you should be doing. Why am I doing it? So why do you need a brand? Well, it differentiates you. It allows you to communicate what matters to you, what makes you tick. And that's what's really important. It goes right down inside you. Like, what is your purpose? What drives you? What makes you want to show up? What makes you proud of your achievements? That's what should be part of your brand, not the superficial stuff. Not like, oh, it's I have this colour hair or I wear these kinds of clothes. That ladders from what's going on inside. And then what happens is when you're looking at the commercial space, that's also what allows you to find the right partners to work with. I heard the last panel. You guys have been hearing lots of great panels. You'll hear more tomorrow. Everybody will be talking to you about their brand and what they stand for. But it's not until you know what you stand for or an athlete knows what they stand for that you can find that connection. It's like any relationship. It's not about right and wrong. It's just about finding those right partners. And when you come together, that's where the magic happens.
And so how do you find your brand? Because I don't think, well, maybe some of us do, and that's really cool if you do, but I personally don't often sit down and go, who am I? It's not really something that we pay much attention to, I don't think. But that's kind of what you need to do in order to find your personal brand for these young athletes. So we think there are three main things that you need. Firstly, it's your values. It's what is important to you, as Katie was alluding to. And quite often, we don't really know our own values. You know, we think, oh, well, yeah, I guess I'm kind, and I guess I'm loyal, and I guess I'm... But, you know, sitting down and really working that out can really help to inform you, because our values, broadly speaking, don't really change from when we're very young to when we're very old. Who you are and your values and what's important to you doesn't really shift a huge amount over that time. Now, time is an important factor in this. If you ask a 16-year-old to try and find their values and to try and discover their brand, it's going to change over the course of the years. I mean, I think a great example of this actually is Lewis Hamilton in Formula One. When he came into Formula One, he was a very kind of prim and proper and manufactured kid at 23, and now he's this global icon superstar who's kind of almost unrecognizable. But what he stands for has remained the same throughout, even if his brand has kind of changed. And the third part is test and learn. A lot of the times we can have an idea of who we think we are or what we think is important to us, and then we actually do it or try and act that way, and it doesn't quite fit right. And so there's a lot of test and learn required to work out your brand and to work out what, again, is important to you and what you stand for.
So normally at this point there's some really great stuff that we've not included, and then
just imagine it. Just imagine you're seeing great stuff now
it's really
instead
great,
of this.
it's interactive, you feel inspired, you're like, oh, I need to leave right now to get on with that. And then we come to, once you've got your brand, how do you share it? Now, this is where I'm going to try and be top line, because I can get quite geeky about this, because by trade, pre-talent, I was a channel strategist, and my whole job was about how you share brands, whether it's people or companies. But first of all, you've got to understand and know your different channels. And what's really important here is that this is not a one-size-fits-all. This is not every single person should be posting this many times on this many channels and doing this kind of press and showing up in that kind of a way because that's how it works. That's not it at all. Once you know your brand, you will know what is authentic to you. Your brand becomes a filter and a stress test for every single thing you're going to do. And if at some point you know your values and you know what makes you tick and you know what you stand for and something feels a bit icky, well, don't do that thing. It doesn't matter how many people tell you that's what you should be doing. And suddenly if you've been posting photos but you're overanalyzing them all the time, but video content feels really fun and cool and you love editing the videos, do that. Because that's when people know what is authentic to you and what works with your brand. So to go through the channels a little bit, we have owned and operated. So owned, obviously, your website is totally in your control. Isn't that great? You can project to the world exactly what you want. Then you've got operated, so your social media, technically owned and run by somebody else, Meta, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever, but you're still, again, controlling the content that you put out onto those channels. For you guys, I don't know, but you might be a bit more like me and a bit more focused on the business channels. I sometimes post on Instagram once a year. Often, for athletes or people with a public profile, they're a bit more towards the Instagram, and we'll let Robyn talk to you about the TikTok because she's queen of TikTok. She makes eating packets of crisps look interesting. Yeah. Honestly, you're glued to it. It's not right. Anyway, PR. So PR is slightly different. PR is what we call earned. I realise I'm currently teaching grandma and grandpa to suck eggs, but I've got to present something. So earned media is basically you going, I've got a great story and I'm going to go out to people and I'm going to convince them it is so interesting, and the people who are reading it are going to be so interested and inspired by it that they should publish it. And that's where I love to work, because I'm like, no, you've got to put some effort in here. It's got to have something about it. You've got to know your why, where, who, when, what, how, and you've got to be able to sell this in. You've got your paid stuff as well, which we haven't talked about as much because probably that's going to come if you're an athlete, like via your commercial partners and things. You're probably not going to put a load of money into that yourself. Your event appearances, when you show up at that event appearance, a meet and greet, everybody who leaves should be feeling like they had a little moment with you. That same you, as Jack said, that your friends and your family know, that same you that shows up on the TV, and that same you that's on the TV when you're immediately after a match, or when you're sitting on Graham Norton's sofa, although maybe there's a bit more adrenaline after a match and they're slightly more aggressive. Anyway, and then partnerships, Robyn's like, yeah. And then partnerships, so you can share your brand through those partnerships. One of the things that we say so often is, if you have those right partnerships, because as I said, you know what you stand for, they know what they stand for, you've come together. It's not a question of being given a script and you've got to read it out and does that feel right. The right partner you'll be able to go to and say, oh, actually, I think it would be great to tweak it like this because I know loads about this subject and I know exactly who we're talking to and I think this would resonate. So can we do this and can we do that? And they might push back and go, oh yeah, this works for that reason, but that doesn't work for that reason. What about this? But you co-create. And that becomes a channel, not through which you're earning money, it becomes a channel through which you are sharing yourself. And then you're just being remunerated for being aligned to your partner. And then we come to the content you can do, but you all know about content, and we've got the queen of content coming. So I'm not going to labor it too much, other than to say everything should look and feel like you, and messaging should be simple and consistent. Like repetition, repetition, repetition. I spent my whole career in comms, and I cannot tell you how many times people think that because they've got a really great set of messaging and they've put it out in a really effective way, it's now out there. Most people haven't seen it. It is not awareness and then engagement, conversion, loyalty. It's awareness, engagement with more awareness, conversion, and more awareness onto loyalty. So keep saying it. Don't feel shy just because you've put something out there and you're like, oh, I wonder how I look. I wonder what people are thinking. Think about how you see other people's content. You're not obsessing about every word people have written. You're not obsessing about the angle of their face in every photo. You're scrolling through and you're like, okay, cool, for me, not for me, for me, not for me, or whatever. And if someone is trolling you, like, they need to get over it, not you.
Well, despite the internet being a lovely, kind, wonderful place, there is sometimes a necessary situation where you need to handle negative sentiment. You'll be amazed to learn. And basically, these are our kind of rules for handling negative sentiment. So firstly, it comes down to knowing your own brand, right? If, as we've said many times in this, but if you know who you are and what's true to you, if something you've posted is true to you and you go, no, okay, that's okay, then you're kind of all right. You can be your own barometer to a certain degree. If you've posted something and everyone's like, oh, you shouldn't, blah, 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 and you look at it and go, maybe not, then maybe not. I think you can, be your own barometer a lot of the time. You can't get sentiment confused with feedback. This is kind of what Katie was referring to with, just random trolls saying random things. That's very different to someone actually giving constructive feedback to you and giving you criticism and ways you could improve. And I think there's quite a clear differentiation between those 2 points. Another one is to imagine you're someone else. Again, similar to Katie's point on content, if you saw this on someone else's page, what would you think of them? And what would you think of what they had posted? And if you think, actually, I think if someone else had posted it, it would have been fine, then you're probably fine. Compare sentiment with trusted friends and colleagues' opinion. So again, that's having a network close to you and trying to form those relationships, and you yourself create a sort of safe space in which your, be it agents or family or friends, can say to you, oh, Bobby's getting a lot of sticks today, but oh, Bobby, you really shouldn't have posted that, or you really shouldn't have done this. If they have that safe space, you can learn and react to that and be like, oh, okay, fine, I'll take that down, like, I was wrong about this one, or they can back you up. And finally, you always have to be polite on social media. You don't always have to agree.
And generally. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, well, practice what you preach, I think. But you should always try and be polite. There's no point raging back at them but joining the keyboard warriors in this epic keyboard battle for the ages. Be polite, but don't necessarily agree fundamentally.
Right, we're going to rattle through because we need to get on to Robyn. Yeah. Jack's stuck on this guy called Bobby because he's one of GB's curling team, and we're really excited about the Winter Olympics next year, and he was working with him yesterday.
And he's all I can think about.
We're stuck on the fact that you will see this, I promise. You will hopefully be watching the final where they will get gold at the Winter Olympics next year, and you will hear 3 Scottish voices screaming. I'm sorry about what I'm going to do to your accent now, Robyn. Go, Bobby, go! Because Bobby's always the last one sweeping, so that's where it's come from. Anyway, when do you need an agent to support you? Really quickly. Well, when you're earning enough, having an agent, you don't need an agent if you don't need an agent. Don't let anyone convince you that. You're just giving away 20% of what you're doing yourself anyway. So when you're earning enough, when you're too busy to keep track of things yourself, don't miss opportunities because you don't have support. Or when you're handling things you don't understand. You can't possibly be signing contracts that you haven't read. So that's when you need an agent. And what should you expect from them?
Well, we think you should expect respect honesty, loyalty, openness, passion, knowledge, efficiency, and kind of, maybe most importantly, but they're all pretty important, but a teammate. I think it's in an ideal world, an agent is part of your team and on your side. And that's the kind of ethos that we try to create and think should be created and in existence. And all the others are quite self-explanatory, to be honest, aren't they?
And so having got that bit out the way, we're going to hand you over to one of our team. She is rather sensational. She's been to 3 Paralympics. She's a world silver medalist. She has multiple European silver medals. She's a partner. She's a parent, an LGBT advocate, an access advocate, and Scottish. Over to Robyn Love.
Save the best one till last, I think, yeah. Well, thanks for having me today. So I think you didn't list one of them. They have to be able to make you laugh, I think. Did a good job.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I've been so lucky to work with GVO now for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And for me, coming into it, it was all those 3 things. I was making pennies. Luckily I didn't sign anything that I didn't know what I was signing, but all those things were true for me. The Paralympic movement, I've been involved with Paralympic sport now since 2015, 3 Paralympics like you mentioned, and the Paralympic movement has just kaboomed. Something I found challenging in my early years within the sport was everyone wanted me to do something for free because it's disability, so you should just do it for free. You're a woman, so you should do it for free again. So for me, that was a big challenge, and over the past maybe like 4 years, post-COVID, is more people are looking for more commercial opportunities on the run-up to the Paralympic Games. Myself and my partner, Laurie Williams, who's also on the books, she's also my teammate within GB. We've been together now for 10 years. We were in a Toyota advert with our little girl who was 1 year old at the time, so it was pretty incredible. So since working with GVO, my doors have opened, but also I've been able to, and I think the most important thing is they're my right arm. Like, I'm able to focus now more on training, and on my family, you know, my brand. I'm able to set that aside and be athlete parent. So they really do just take all that stress away, which thank you. Which I think is so incredibly important for an agency to do that. And of course, they always say sport comes first. If I've got an event coming up or I've got training, it's, you know, they take that stress away. This comes first, and I really do think as an athlete that makes a huge, huge difference. And you know, coming into it, I started playing wheelchair basketball at the age of 24. I had no idea about disability sport, Paralympic sport, until I saw it on Channel 4 during London 2012. And one of the things Katie asked me when I first joined was, how do you want to change the world? So, what is it? I just want to make money. I want to buy a bungalow. I want to buy a bungalow in Manchester. Impossible goal, I think. How do you want to change the world? And for me, I want everyone to know about Paralympic sport. I want everyone to know about the diversity within disability. As you can see, I can walk. And the amount of times I get, oh, how can you play wheelchair basketball? You can walk. And I actually thought the same thing, so a lot of my videos are trying to create, I'm a video gal, I'm not really a photo gal, I'm very awkward in front of a picture camera, but put a video and I don't mind being silly. But for me, I think my brand is very much positivity and openness around disability, and allowing people to ask those awkward questions without fear of judgment. And I think that, you know, everything in sport is the sport for social change, and I think especially wheelchair basketball is so fun. The amount of corporate days that I've done with able-bodied people, and they just get in a chair and they absolutely are obsessed. So for me, I just want to be able to share that journey and share that story and allow people to embrace disability in such a positive and fun and exciting way, which I think these guys have definitely allowed me to do over the past year and a half.
They want to hear about TikTok, Robyn.
Oh. I'm on TikTok.
She's not just on TikTok.
No.
Like when people talk about Paralympians on TikTok, they talk about Robyn.
Oh, do they? That's kind. No, for me, I don't have loads and loads of followers, to be honest. I love putting videos together. I love making people smile. A lot of my content is around my family, so Laurie, myself, and our daughter, Alba. That does mean Scotland, yes, I know. So I love sharing it, and being able to show people how people with disabilities live and how we get around the world. And one of my favourite videos was us exploring adapted, well, unintentionally accessible products that Laurie could use. Laurie's a wheelchair user, so that she could use when Alba was a tiny baby. So, and the amount of messages that we've gotten from people saying, "Oh wow, I saw that! Isn't that incredible?" And for me, I'm from a small town where I only knew one other disabled person. So the fact that you've got TikTok, which I think is such a fantastic platform for people to share knowledge. I don't Google anymore, I TikTok. How do I do this? How do I do that? And it's, for me, I'm really proud to know that some people, when they search on TikTok, how do people with disabilities do this, my name comes up. And I also do funny ones around the fact that I can walk and I play wheelchair basketball. Usually that's the only trolling I get is, how can you play wheelchair basketball? You can walk, you're taking opportunities away. And to go back to your point about Bobby, well, I personally use that as an opportunity to educate and try and share knowledge, and people are like, oh, okay, fair enough, that's cool. We're very lucky in terms of our LGBT bits that we put out. We haven't actually received much hate. I don't think people can quite think, oh, you have a disability and you're LGBT, how can I hate you for that? I'm not sure. They're not, so we're quite lucky that they just see the disability first and how inspiring it is, so we avoid the trolls on that sense.
I think that's us.
Yeah, that's us. So thank you so much for your attention. That's a little snippet of this presentation that occurs, and like we say, we're really quite passionate about helping athletes build their brand and, you know, helping them transition into the world outside of sport when the time comes. And yeah, thanks for your attention.
We do have...
Oh yeah.
That was, no one noticed that, right? So we do have a podcast, if it's of interest to anyone you know, which is basically designed, well, anyone hopefully can enjoy it, but it's basically designed for young people looking for representation or older people who don't know how representation works, and explains all the things that no one tells you, so that you can make sure that you get a fair deal, you get treated fairly, and it enhances your career.
Right.
It's up there.
Exactly. So
but I can't see that, so I'm assuming it's up there.
It should be up there, yeah. And so our contact details, blah, 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 blah. So thank you very much, and let's hear it once more for Robyn Love.